Hello, I'm Philip Stoughton. I'm here at SMTAI in Rosemont, Illinois, and I'm joined by Matt from PCBX. Matt, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
You've got an interesting approach to Industry 4.0. It almost feels like you guys were already into the whole model of a digital factory solution before the term came about. Tell me a bit about that journey before we get on to the installation of the most recent equipment.
Well, we're working on trying to be a contract manufacturer that's tackling things sort of from a more modern basis and looking at what are the impediments to customers trying to give us data, get us the data sets, and let us set up the line to be able to actually run their products. And especially when you're talking about small run boards that people need, quickly, there's not a lot of time to be able to necessarily refine the process over, dozens or hundreds of articles. So being able to work with equipment like from Ko-Young that allows us to fly the data sets in and be up and running immediately is a huge advantage. And from a quality assurance standpoint, we know that we can be tackling a lot of these problems right out of the gate before they become problems, to be able to just get stuff turned around with a much higher yield than we would have if we didn't have those tools.
Yeah, and it's interesting. For me, it's a two-layer story. So, there's a quality assurance layer. There's we need to inspect, we need to improve our yield, we need to improve our performance, and then there's the digital story that overlays on top of that. When you were making your selection for a vendor for your SPI, were both of those top of mind, or was there one that was kind of a priority over the other?
I think kind of all in total, but one of the things that we realized is finding a system that had the repair option on it was huge for us, because being a smaller operation right now and running, again, smaller batches of boards, the issue with cleaning off paste prints or doing reprints was a huge issue. And a lot of times we would find it's usually only on small pitch devices where we would have, maybe one aperture out of, several thousand on a board would clog, and it might be on a BGA or something, really critical, and it's just like if we have the repair option there, in a couple seconds we can fix it. We don't have to risk trying to do a reprint and then put the board through again and go through the whole process if you know that you're already good enough to go and having that repair option. So for a lot of the really small pitch components, the repair option has been fantastic, because it allows us to obviously get the confidence that we have a good print, or if there's a couple little things the machine thinks we need to have the touch up on, a few seconds later being able to fill in those missing gaps, and then between print cycles go clean the stencil or look at what's going on over there. It's been huge. The machine, we kind of describe it as it's a dashboard for the stencil printer. It really allows us to dial the printer in, and in fact the SPI, besides the obvious cost savings of just the quality there, it helped us to save money on a printer, because even though we're running an older style printer right now, when we actually installed the Ko-Young technicians were commenting that they couldn't actually believe how tight of a tolerance our printer was holding. So we suddenly went, oh, wonderful, now we don't have to spend another $80,000 on a brand new stencil printer. We can still run this one for a while, because it's giving us the quality we need, and the SPI is telling us how to adjust that printer to get the maximum print quality out of it, that we otherwise, the AOI might catch it at the other end, and then we're 5 or 10 panels in before realizing what we need to fix on the stencil printer. So the AOI really helps us to make sure that we're not getting escapes and costing money in the way of customer recalls or problems when it gets in the field. But the SPI really saves us money, because almost all defects that we're catching on the AOI were almost all print related, and we're happy to say that with a lot of the boards that we do run regularly, we literally dropped to a 0% rework on those boards after installing the Ko-Young SPI, and there simply just wasn't a question on whether the print was good or not. We knew that as soon as everything placed on it and reflowed, we were good, and happily enough we're like, man, we got to check their AOI program, because we're not getting defects through. We got to make sure we're set up there, and in fact it was delivering on it. So really for us, the Ko-Young, we identified that most of the problems that we were having in the line, and it wasn't very many, they all came from print-related problems, and it's a physical process. There's things that you can't avoid, like clogged apertures or smears or under stencil wipes, things that have to be done. But having the SPI really allowed us to dial the stencil printer in to a degree that simply would not have been possible without that technology.
Yeah, and you've got that, as you say, the added value of repair, so you can repair and you can go back and correct the squeegee pressure or whatever else to make sure it's right.
I'm surprised more people aren't using it with that, and there's very few vendors that we looked at that offer the repair option, and obviously Ko-Young is a leader in the field of this sort of 3D metrology and the way the machine actually does the analysis. So we're like, we consider it to be kind of a no-brainer. We saw the demo of the machine, we talked to them, got it in, and we we are 100% happy with that. We're like, man, we should have bought this a long time ago.
Yeah, there's kind of a realization there. What I also think is really interesting and exciting is it's kind of made your printer smarter. It's kind of
absolutely has
taken you from an almost analog print process to a digital print process. So it's helped that digital enablement process, not just in that position on the line, but elsewhere. That's hugely valuable.
Absolutely, and we're looking forward to also some of the future capabilities. Again, we have an older stencil printer right now, but with a newer one that we know we'll inevitably move to, having that closed loop ability between the SPI and the printer will be wonderful, because right now that closed loop is, our operators making adjustments and doing that, but there's certainly an attractiveness to being able to gather that information and then to close loop it automatically through the system, and then gather those sort of metrics. And Joel and I were talking at the booth earlier about there's a lot of people that are kind of, if they don't have either solution, they're on the fence as to, which one do they want to buy first, the AOI or the SPI. I think the best solution is obviously to have both, but if you have to pick one, I think the differentiator is if you're doing contract manufacturing work, I think the AOI solution is sort of the best option to go with first, because in a lot of cases we can't functionally test boards, so our final deliverables are really, we need to optically inspect the board and make sure it's there, and in that case the biggest concern is making sure that we don't have escapes of bad product. But if we're in a scenario where we do have functional test on boards, we found that the SPI certainly gives the best sort of immediate payback for the equipment, because we're obviously doing a functional test, so we will find out if there are problems on the boards there. But the SPI, the AOI is telling you what you need to rework before you ship it. The SPI is heading those issues off at the pass. So for us, if we were just doing all internal product, no question, SPI first, AOI second. For contract manufacturer, external work, I think it's AOI first, SPI second. If you got the money, absolutely buy both of them first. And if you got the money, buy both of them from Ko-Young, because they talk to each other.
There you go.
And with having a lot of the Industry 4.0, one of the things that's very attractive to that is it also empowers the end customers to do more things with the machines that the machines might not do out of the out of the gate. But it's like if you have those sort of that open standard and those hooks and that functionality, if you have some software programmers on staff, which we are fortunate to have that because we come from an embedded systems development standpoint, to be able to write tools that work with the machines or monitor the data or do various things, the Factory 4.0 initiative helps to sort of lift the lid on those equipment and provide a standardized way to extend functionality in ways that the manufacturer may not, or are accustomed to a particular application where it may not make sense for the manufacturer of the equipment to add those tools for a specific customer if it's not a big enough sort of thing there, but to empower the customer to be able to add those tools or those functions to the machine themselves. And we're glad to see that more people like Ko-Young are embracing the standards that exist for being able to do that.
Yeah, and it's great to see that your vision going forward is very much a digitally enabled vision. So, moving forward, being able to put those dashboards together, not just for you, but for your customers, to have that traceability, that visibility all the way through.
Absolutely.
It really is an example of where this Industry 4.0 concept is supposed to be taking us, and we're getting past the talk stage into the actual operations.
Well, I think it was Wayne Gretzky was the one that said, don't skate to where the puck is, skate to where the puck is going, and I think that's the case where we're seeing that right now, where people are envisioning how things can be done better, and taking a big hint from internet connectivity and just a lot of other business models where CM, I think to a degree, is kind of playing catch up, but I think a lot of people in the industry also realize that by forging these standards and the cooperation between vendors, there's a net benefit from everybody. It's not how do we subdivide the pie differently, it's how do we grow the pie for everybody.
Yeah. So it sounds like Ko-Young big partner for you for the future.
Oh, absolutely. And it's one of those things where we've got aspirations to continue to scale the business and keep adding more pick and place lines, and we definitely want a Ko-Young in every single one of them. It's just the experience has been fantastic, just from a sales, training, just total execution, support after purchase of the machine, which we really we haven't really had any. I guess it's one or two little questions, but it's like all that stuff. It's honestly been probably one of the easiest machines to integrate into the workflow, and when you have all the training literally fits into about a day at a time, you know that you're going to be seeing return on investment very, very quickly from minimal intervention from the people that need to set up and use the machine on a daily basis. And it's just, our guys were just absolutely floored how much information it gave back to just make their job much easier on adjusting the stencil printer and having such easy to use software, and just it gives you everything that you need to adjust the printer to get the exact type of print quality you're looking for.
Yeah, and it's a great operator experience, which is hugely valuable as well, isn't it?
Very modern interface, and it doesn't look like it came out of the 1990s like some software out there does. But I mean, because you always, I mean, the main thing is that it works at the end of the day. But it's like if you can just have that little bit of extra icing on the cake and make it look like a modern interface, it just it feels nicer to use.
Difference. Yeah. Guys, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Great relationship. I look forward to hearing more from you in the future. Thank you.
Absolutely.